Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Amy Walter. Well, we have a lot of primaries on the docket for June 8th. Today, though, we wanted to check in on California. Who doesn't love California? And to help me discuss the Republican primaries in both the Senate and gubernatorial races, our own Jamie Shuffleberger, who's been on this race for a whopping week and a half. In her spare time, she's covering the Pennsylvania Senate, Illinois, and Connecticut.
I've become an expert on military fumbles, as it were.
Interesting point. But now we're going to have to take a look at the races in California. Thankfully, the LA Times came out this weekend with its poll, the first non-robo poll that we've seen in quite some time, which shows Meg Whitman with a commanding lead over Steve Poizner. Guess that's what $80 million buys you. She's up 53-29. And on the Republican side, Carly Fiorina has jumped out to a pretty significant lead over Tom Campbell. Again, money being a big factor. They're 38-23%. Chuck DeBoer at 16%. We want to take a look first, Jamie. Let's take a look at the issues and the ads that have defined the Republican primaries, and both. So first, let's start with maybe the more notorious.
The best, let's just face it. The best ads, possibly across the country. That would be the Demon Sheep ad by Carly versus the Barbara Boxer balloon face ad, also by Fiorina. Both of them are kind of vaguely terrifying.
They are. Now, these are all web videos, but they went viral because of the crazy factor. And, you know, in one case, she turns her opponent, Tom Campbell, into a oddly fake demon-looking.
Demonic sheep. The point of the ad being that he's just a Republican in sheep's clothing. So that's kind of the point of those ads. And they're indeed scary. Kind of gave me nightmares.
The Boxer one is actually creepier because it has her head literally expanding to the size of a small blimp.
Yeah.
With her body still attached, so there's this creepy part where her arms and legs are flailing around, and then she's floating across the country with C-SPAN images reflected off of her head. Bizarre. But what I think Fiorina did in both of these, for as bizarrely as they were put forward, is to set up really the main arguments that she then went, and we will show this ad in a minute, which she went and developed into a 30-second spot in the primary. One, that yes, you may like Tom Campbell and think he's a good guy, but he's not really a conservative, especially on taxes and spending. And two, the main issue with Boxer, despite the blimp weirdness, is she's been there far too long.
Yeah, I mean, the whole
point which is creepier?
I don't know, the balloon's about how Boxer is filled with hot air, and the blown up portion of Boxer's face is just, it's not flattering.
I think it's creepier.
So it's creepier just because it's a human. If it was like a demon Campbell, that might be a little more scary. But demon sheeps are too cute. Sheep
that was actually a blimp. Now that we had to do.
Best of both worlds. Okay. Maybe next time.
Then in the primary on the Republican side for governor, immigration, obviously the main issue there. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Whitman and Poizner have kind of been battling back and forth on who is the more conservative on the immigration issue. Whitman came out when the Arizona immigration law was passed and said it wasn't the ideal way to do it. Poizner returned fire, saying that Whitman supported amnesty, created a whole bunch of ads saying that Whitman was weak on immigration, that she was going to, allow all these immigrants to flood California even more than they are today. And Whitman responded back with a TV ad saying, "Oh, look, I am not for amnesty. This is what I support." But she bungled last week because she said, Poizner was the one that brought all this into it. I never said that he was weak on immigration. I never featured a fence in my advertising. But
except for the part where you did.
She did. So she had...
Even though, to be fair, it just kind of looks like, if you look at the picture, I mean, it's on a beach.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be anybody's fence that just happens to go from the dunes through to the middle of the ocean.
It looks like he's trying to stop seagulls from going from one side to the other, not
Maybe
Mexicans.
that's what she was saying.
But yeah, we don't
about
know what
immigration.
kind of immigrants she was
Or it was
talking
migrating
about.
turtles or something.
Yeah, exactly. But also this ad is notable because it's a minute ad, her response ad. And it takes $4 million to advertise a week on California. Minute ad. Whitman is spending $500,000 a day on advertising. So this ad is just blanketed everywhere. So that
Bottom line, money can buy you love.
yes, and maybe
In
a
politics.
GOP primary. So there's that.
And finally, I thought the new Fiorina ad that
Out
went up
this
this week,
morning.
it was up
Yeah.
this morning, okay, really did put the ad very much into context, how Fiorina is running, which is going to be fascinating to see how she pivots back to the center in the primary. She attacks Campbell for being, basically, as I said earlier, for being soft on taxes and spending, and then highlights her support from Sarah Palin, which in the general election may not be all of that.
Yeah, and you can be sure
a
that
good thing.
Boxer is going to highlight that support.
Absolutely.
And Boxer's already has a wedge on liberal issues and social issues like abortion and gay marriage. So we'll see how she pivots to the general election with that.
Right. All right. We're going to end with our thought of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Ready? Which is, which Democrat more likely to lose in November? Jerry Brown, obviously running for governor again, or Senator Barbara Boxer?
I think Barbara Boxer is more likely to lose.
I would agree.
I think despite Whitman's spending, there's not a lot of history of as you pointed out earlier, of self-funders winning big in California.
Yes.
And I think Boxer can be very easily tied to DC. So I
Correct.
think that's a problem.
I think that is very, very good point, that it is, yes, it's a terrible time to be an incumbent. The good news for Jerry Brown was the last time he was an incumbent, like 40%
Most
of
voters
the
were
people.
in diapers.
Correct. So there's that. Plus, Meg Whitman, with the $80 million of spending that she's put forward, really has turned herself into the incumbent.
Not to mention the fact that she has to go way to the conservative side on immigration, which we've seen in the past in California. That
has not been.
With Pete Wilson, it's never a good thing. So we'll see what happens.
All right,
with
so
that.
we agreed. God,
Yeah.
you're so much better than Mercurio, who just wants to disagree all the time. All right, with that, we are out of time for today.
Yeah, thanks so much. I enjoyed my first time here.
All right, next time we have the hazing. Until next time, see you on Hotline TV.